There are many methods for supporting a base of a shed. Some people prefer concrete bases, some people prefer paving slabs. My preferred method is using concrete blocks. I'm Dibley, and today I'm going to show you how I lay a concrete block base for a shed or a summer house or playhouse. We've got a summer house here that was at the last house, and you can see that there's some issues where the rot has got in, and that's and this is the floor, and that's basically, and you can see up there as well, because there was not enough ventilation and support and drainage underneath the floor timbers. So this last time was sat on some wooden planks or some 4x4 wooden, I think they were fence posts, but the moisture got up through them. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to do something a little bit different. This is something I've used before in two places, and that's putting it on concrete blocks. So this is a bit of a patio area that we're going to put this down on in this house. So the advantage of using the concrete blocks is, here I've used these even on a concrete base. There was a shed base at one of the places I lived previously. But put these down onto the shed base, which is quite level, and you can watch when it rains, the moisture only comes up to around there. So the top inch or so of the concrete block stays dry, which means then the timbers that sit down on top of it also stay dry. So what we're going to do here is we're going to lay these concrete blocks on sand. I'm leveling them up at the moment, and then we're going to put the base down on here. Hopefully that will then keep the timbers underneath the floor drier. Obviously they're already rotten, but we don't want it to get any further rotten. I think it will last another couple of years, so we should be fine. So I just wanted to show you what I'm doing basically. So this is sharp sand, and then the blocks on top of the sharp sand. Obviously this is whatever was underneath the gravel before, and I'm just set out the two corners. I started with that corner down there. Did my string lines out. I've basically come out 150mm on there, which is about an inch or so further than the size of the base, so that when the side of the sheds come down, they should pretty well line up with the edges of the corners. That should be square. I set the strings out first of all with the base on the ground. So hopefully this should be square. I haven't got a square. Probably could have measured it with a 3-4-5 triangle, but hopefully this will be square enough for it. We can wiggle it and jiggle it a little bit. If the timbers come out across the edges a little bit, it's not going to be the end of the world. So what we need to make sure is once we've started with that corner, then I did that corner, then I did the middle, using the long square across all of it, and also making sure each individual block is square both lengthways and widthways. That one's a little bit out, probably could do with a tap down on that side slightly, but it's within the bubble, so I'm happy enough with that. So this one you can see end to end is square. What you need to do as well is make sure there's no rocking so that this doesn't seesaw, and the other thing to do is just slide this on and off, and if you can feel it hit or rise, I think that's actually hitting some stones, if you can feel it rise, then this block is too high. If there's any seesawing and you can push that down, then this block is too low. So just try again here, no seesawing. Yeah, sliding it on and off. I can't feel any resistance, so I have to assume that is pretty level. The two ends are level, but this one is also level. It's neither too high. Too high will cause seesawing of your level. Too low will cause, when you slide this end on and off, you'll feel it clipping there. So, and again with that one there, we make sure that the bubble is fairly level. Fairly level lengthways, just inside, and also across the width, so just inside there as well. So I'm happy enough with that for the floor, because I expect the floor is quite bendy and quite flexible anyway. So I'll do a little bit more and then I'll come back and update this. Okay, so I've put the next block down, and as you can see here, it's a bit high that end, so I'm going to have to take some of the sand out from underneath that end, and also you can see that is seesawing, so it's definitely too high. And we'll just check across the width. So So this side needs to come down, the back needs to come down, and it is all generally too high. So let's move that out of the way. And what we will do, now what I'm going to use is, obviously you could use proper trowel, but I'm finding that for this job a coarse flooring tiling adhesive trowel is working quite well. It allows me to scratch, I can't remember which end was the high end, I think this end was the high end, I've forgotten now. I can basically scratch the sharp sand. Yeah, I can't blink and remember. I'm going to scratch it down a little bit and we'll put it back on. But it allows you to take a small amount off and move the sand around a little bit quite effectively. So, you know, obviously it's not the tool for the job, but it works quite well. Okay, so we can see the bubble is fine lengthways, and we can see that it's fine widthways. And if you look at the bubble there, it looks like it's fairly good. But actually, if we check at this end, as we push that on there, it's pushing the level up. So that means this block here is too low. So I've just got to add a little bit more sand underneath and then try and level it again. Okay, so that's a little bit of work. We're now in the bubble that way, maybe a little bit high at the top end. Possibly give that a little bit of a tap down. Probably ended up ruining everything else I've done now. Alright, so it's good in the bubble there. So the block's level left long ways and width ways. So looking here, there's no seesawing motion. And if we look at that end as well and we just slide on, there's no clipping as it slides onto the block. On this end I think I've got a little bit of clipping, so it possibly means that the block is down a little bit low here, because at this end, because when you push on there is just a little, but to be fair, I'm probably gonna leave that and not worry too much about that. It's only just touching, but obviously if you're a bit more perfectionist you might carry on for a little bit longer. Okay, having done my two edges, the next one to set out is this corner. So this is quite a critical one, and it's worth spending a lot of time, even if the inner ones you don't mind if they're just a little bit out. This one's more important because you'll set everything along the other two edges from this block. So this one, hopefully you can see that, is bang in the middle for the length of the shed base, and right in the middle there. We've also ensured that the block is level to itself, lengthways. Oops, I'm in the sun, and probably could do with coming down a little bit on this edge actually. So let's just bring this down a little bit and see what happens. That's better. Make sure it's still fine that way. Okay, let's just run this back on again, make sure it's fine that direction. We're good. And back that way. And let's just make sure when we slide this on, there's no, it's not good. There is a tiny little bit, now I've tapped it, there's a very tiny bit of seesaw. So we'll just put that on again. Is a bit of work still to do here, I think. Although that's quite level, possibly need to just bring this edge down a little bit more. Hopefully that'll be okay. It's possibly a bit too much now. Let's have a look when we slide that across to there. There's still a little bit. I might have to do a little tiny bit more work on that, just to sort that out. Okay, so we have the two edges done, the two long edges, and now we're going to work back towards the the point just there, so the middle of the short edge, and then when that's level, then we can do the middle one, the middle support, and then that will be the base done. The only thing to do after that will be to backfill in between all the blocks with the gravel that I've all piled up. That will sort of act as a bit of a ballast to stop the blocks from moving around. Obviously I probably could have done a bit more of a slightly larger sand bases for the blocks, but I'm kind of counting on the fact that the gravel ballast will keep the sand in place, and then obviously the sand will keep the blocks level. So hopefully that will work. So there we have it, the base is all complete now, everything levelled. I just need to go and ballast in between it. You may wonder why I've chosen such a particularly peculiar pattern. Well, there is method for my madness. The reason is, if we take the shortest length, so we've got a block lengthways, then widthways and lengthways. So the widthways one is in the centre. Now, where the runners are, or the joists, or whatever you want to call them on the shed base, that block there should just about take the inner and outer, or sorry, inner, should take, let's see, that one and that one. Then the blocks running the other way will support that one, and then the blocks running widthways, whatever you want to call it, one lengthways, will support those ones. So that is the reason for my plan. Right, I'll just ballast it, and then I'll take another clip once that's finished, and then good to put the base down. Okay, I've now reballasted in between all the blocks. You have to go a bit careful when you add the ballast, really, because you don't want to disturb the sand that the blocks are on. You don't want to step on the blocks and disturb them either. The ballast will hopefully stop the sand from moving, and then obviously the sand is supporting the blocks. The next job, just one thing to say, is if you do ballast up to the blocks, try and leave a couple of inches between the top of the blocks and the ballast, just because you want really good airflow under there. The idea of using the concrete blocks is to raise the wooden timbers up so that they are out of the moisture, but you also want to, it also helps that you're hopefully allowing a plenty good draft of dry air under there, so the timbers, if they do get wet, they can dry out easily. So that's it for the moment. Obviously I'm leaving this area here. I've not ballasted up against those. I've got to be a bit careful. I'm intending to lay some more blocks there and also up the side there, and put a little bit of decking up to the corners of the shed. Probably leave the area behind clear just for access for painting and stuff like that. Next job is to put the base down. Okay, so we've got the base down on the concrete blocks, and you can see I've got just under a finger's width, or thereabouts is a finger of width between the edge of the blocks. I've got a little bit here. It is slightly, the base is very slightly sprung because it's been stored in the garage for 2 years almost, so I'm sure it will pull down properly once there's a bit of weight on there. These are level, it's just the wood has bowed slightly. You can see up the side there, just a slight overlap. That was measured just enough to provide a little bit of overlap. Then hopefully when the side of the shed is down, it will almost be pretty flush. So the blocks will be fairly flush with the base. And that is that. I'm Dibley. This is how to lay a concrete block base for a shed or a summer house or playhouse. Thank you for watching.